when I was looking up the word trauma is just like a disturbing experience that you have had in your life. And for many of us, there are experiences. Y'all, I'm working on not talking with my tongue. My God. And for those of you who don't know, I was not raised with my biological family. I was raised with a different family. And for me, it was normal. I grew up, my mom's whole life revolved around me, taking me to go work out, taking me to tennis practice, taking me to the finer restaurants. Her whole entire life revolved around me. And so I never noticed a difference until I got older. And then you realize, oh, my last name isn't the same as everyone else. I don't look like everyone else. And that's when the questions for me started to roll in. And so I have a mom and a mother. My mom is the lady that I believe birthed me, and my mother is the lady that I believe took care of me throughout my life. They're both great people. They're both incredible. I won't discredit any of them. But my whole point is, what do you do when you realize that you weren't born into the family that you claim as family? I never was excluded. I never felt like an outside force. But for me, realizing that was a hard pill for me to swallow. And throughout all of that, I think I became angry or upset and confused. And that showed, like, I was able to express that in my normal life. Okay. So that's number one. And then, going through that stage of anger and upsetness towards the lady who I say raised me, or the family that raised me, I was like, okay, what is going on? You've never felt isolated. You've never felt left out. You've never felt anything different. The only reason why you know you're different is because your last name doesn't match. So, like, what's going on? And so the older I got, the more mature I got. Before I became an educator, my lifelong dream was to become a family lawyer. I didn't know a lot about it. I didn't know how it worked, what happened. But over time, I learned more about it. And learning that these are kids being taken from families, or kids being splitted, it made me want to dive more into my history. I found out kind of everything that happened, and it opened my eyes to a lot. Once it opened my eyes to the fact that I wasn't raised in my biological family, questions starts coming in my head. Late at night, when I'm talking to Jesus, I would remember certain things in certain places that I didn't know where they come from. And I'm not going to go into specific details because I still feel unprotected in certain environments to talk about that, especially a huge environment like the internet. But I will tell you what I use to help me get through those. And so again, as I grew and I matured, I realized I couldn't be angry at a family that loved me. And I didn't understand why I didn't feel comfortable in the family that raised me, and why I didn't feel comfortable in the family that actually birthed me. I wondered why I didn't feel comfortable in either settings. So it took a lot of years of being an adult, understanding what happened, understanding that it was for the best, and then understanding that I truly and honestly was loved. Not going into specifics, not just shit. I may do it a couple videos down, but right now I just can't do it. And for me, when I would even go to certain friends and talk about it, like, girl, I was not raised with my biological family. Everyone would kind of laugh it off because all they saw was my mom dedicating and my mother, which is my mom who didn't birth me, dedicating and sacrificing her life for me. So it was kind of me and Jesus thing, Jesus and I thing. Once I realized the reality of it all, I did 3 things. Number 1, I prayed. I know it sounds cliche, but I went to God. Number 2 is I accepted the fact that it was real. Whatever it was that caused me to go somewhere else, I accepted the fact that it was real. And then number 3, I focused on the positive. So although I was raised in a different family from my biological family, the positive is that I had a good education. I went to private school up until 8th grade. After me having a good education, I went to Hammond High in honors classes. I had some of the great teachers. After that, I went to college and earned a bachelor's degree. Before I even went to college, my family went and bought me everything that I needed for my dormitory. So my whole point was to appreciate that. And while I know, let me stop. I was going to law school. I talked about that in the very beginning. I was going to law school because I thought my passion was being an attorney and being in that dirty, mean world, which I realized I couldn't do. Before that, I had written a letter just about my life. Once, I kind of realized what was going on, the struggle of it all. I'd written a letter, and a biological cousin of mine told me it wasn't true. What I'm telling is not true. Even though I had lived that in my younger days, I was told that it's not true. And then even just in my, in later years in my adult life, I had a cousin tell me what she was told about my life that she believed was true. So I completely understand there's no safe space for us to express ourselves. But what helped me get through it was prayer, Jesus, and realizing that what you think is really what happened. And so that's my 3 things. Number 1, go to Jesus, pray about it. Number 2, accept it. Number 3, stand bold in what you say is true and express it. For me, I knew that what I was saying was true because I remember certain things from my house. And I called the cousin and I said, hey, did this person have this type of lock? Hey, did this person have this type of shoe? And from that, I was able to express, honestly, truly, what was the truth. And from that, and dealing with that, again, those 3 things, I was able to grow and say, okay, you know what? I'm okay with what happened. But I also want to appreciate the family that I was able to grow up with. And I want to appreciate the blessing that God gave me. A lot of times we focus on the negative and not the positive. And I'm going to put this out in this video. Maya Nelson knows a lot about my life. She was my high school counselor. She had seen a lot. And she's always been a positive force in my life. It is so important to accept the child or the trauma, whatever it was. Once you accept it, you're able to enjoy it or understand it, and then you're able to enjoy your blessing. I never enjoyed my blessing of being into a wonderful family, having a wonderful mother. And while we can't blame families on the other side, we have to, appreciate them too, because sometimes it's not out in their control. I don't think my biological mom controlled any of that. But I cannot allow myself to sit in that. I have to be grateful for what is and what God has blessed me with. So that's the end of my video. Real personal. But I have more videos about traumas that you deal and how do you get through it. I got through a whole lot through, honestly, prayer, accepting it, and growing from it. So stay tuned for next week's video. I'm going to tell you how exactly I got through trauma.